Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens Part 181 based on novel. So let's start. The wormhole that was connected to the falling star pavilion was located in the deepest part of the Yang Alliance, protected by an extremely tight defense. Xiao Yan did not make this wormhole known to the public. Although the fees collected from those using the wormhole would be quite a fat sum, Xiao Yan felt that it was better to keep a low profile when it came to such things. Otherwise, it might stir some unnecessary trouble since there was only one wormhole that led to the central plains from deep within the northwestern part of the continent. It would cause many to feel jealous if word were to spread. A dark black wormhole was suspended in the air within an incomparably large hall. It was slowly rotating while waves of shocking spatial fluctuations were emitted from the wormhole. Is this a wormhole? The eyes of Kaylin's group were a little stunned and curious as they observed this wormhole. This was their first time seeing a wormhole. Such a thing was rarely seen in a place like the northwestern region of the continent. Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. Standing beside him was the little fairy doctor, Tianhua Zunjia, and Qing Lin. Those experts who had been invited had already returned to the Central Plains soon after resolving the trouble from the profound lion sect. Big brother, second brother, we will be leaving. If anything happens in the future, you can send someone to the Falling Star Pavilion. There will be someone there to receive you. Xiao Yang turned his head, looked at Xiao Ding and Xiao Li before he spoke with a smile. The Xiao duo nodded when they heard this information. Understood. Take care. Xiao Yang smiled, but he did not say anything unnecessary. He cupped his hands to everyone present and then took the lead to step into the wormhole. He immediately disappeared. Cai Lin, who was carrying Xiao Xiao, swiftly followed behind him as did the little fairy doctor's group. Xiao Ding and Xiao Li softly sighed with a sense of loss as they watched Xiao Yang's group disappear within the wormhole. They remained a little longer before leading their people away. The inner hall of the Falling Star Pavilion. This is your daughter? Yao Lao was studying the white-clothed little girl. She was hugging Xiao Yang's thigh and using her large dark black eyes to stare at him. His elderly face was covered with a stunned expression. Xiao Yang involuntarily smiled and nodded when he saw the way Yao Lao acted. He was aware that Yao Lao had been captured by the Hall of Souls when Kaylin was suspected of being pregnant. Therefore, he was unaware of this situation, so Xiao Yang briefly explained what had occurred back then. How unexpected, how really unexpected. Even with Yao Lao's usual unperturbed temperament, he still involuntarily shook his head after hearing Xiao Yang's story. His eyes swept over Kaylin as he teased, back then, this wife of yours really hated you. If not for the old me, I'm afraid that you would have been killed by her. Kaylin's cold face turned a little red when she heard Yao Lao's words. Back then, she had quietly exchanged blows with Yao Lao many times. However, she had not expected the old man from back then, who had appeared only a little stronger than her, to actually be so strong. Xiao Xiao, quickly greet Grand Teacher. Kaylin gently patted Xiao Xiao's little head and softly told her what to do. Hearing this, Xiao Xiao blinked her large black eyes. She glanced at Xiao Yang somewhat hesitantly. Only after seeing him smile and nod her head, she timidly called out, Grand Teacher. A joyous smile emitted from Yao Lao's heart surfaced on his face after he heard Xiao Xiao's soft voice. He did not have any children but regarded Xiao Yang as his own son. From his perspective, Xiao Yang's daughter was just like his very own granddaughter. Regardless of how strong an old man at his age was, their hearts would ultimately feel a gentleness for little children. Yao Lao walked forward. The corner of his eyes contained a smile as he touched Xiao Xiao with a face full of love. After which, his shriveled hand squeezed Xiao Xiao's little hand. A joy surfaced in his eyes a moment later as he said, what a powerful spiritual strength. She is also of the fire affinity and her body similarly possesses a trace of wood. It not out of the realm of possibility for her to be an alchemist. Xiao Yang smiled when he heard Yao Lao's exclamation. He had already sensed that Xiao Xiao could be an alchemist with her constitution. Her current abilities were much better than his back then. If she was properly groomed, her future potential would be extraordinary. Her spiritual strength is even stronger than when I discovered you back then. Moreover, her constitution is many times greater than yours. If she is properly groomed, her future achievements will be even greater than yours. Her father's, Yao Lao, had an excited glint in his eyes. This kind of glint was something that Xiao Yan had seen when he had met Yao Lao for the first time. Xiao Yan smiled when he heard Yao Lao's evaluation. Talent and constitution might be important, but one's future achievements were determined by one's perseverance. The reason that Xiao Yan was able to reach this stage today was not because he had relied on his talent. Instead, he had achieved breakthroughs from lingering between life and death during one bloody battle after another. A true expert did not rely on talent but on great perseverance. Yao Lao's hand continued to pinch Xiao Xiao's bones. His hands used a little more force, causing Xiao Xiao's little mouth to pout. She continued grumble, causing everyone to laugh. Why doesn't the old me teach the little Xiao Xiao in the future? Yao Lao finally lifted his head after pinching her for a long while. His eyes looked at Xiao Yan as he asked without any hesitation. Even he wasn't able to restrain himself when faced with Xiao Xiao, who was like perfect raw jade. Xiao Yang smiled and nodded when he Yao Lao's suggestion. He had brought Xiao Xiao back to the Falling Star Pavilion to be trained by him. No one among those he was acquainted with could surpass Yao Lao's medicinal refinement skills. It was naturally best for him to personally groom Xiao Xiao. Xiao Yan also understood in his heart that Xiao Xiao's talent might be extremely attractive, but her talent wouldn't be enough to cause an expert like Yao Lao to feel anxious. Yao Lao truly regarded Xiao Xiao as his granddaughter and wished she would grow up perfect. This caused Xiao Yang to feel a little moved in his heart. This child has been traveling with you through the wormhole for a couple of days. Let her properly rest first. Yao Lao lovingly patted Xiao Xiao's head and handed her back to Cai Lin with some unwillingness. Subsequently, he instructed someone to help Cai Lin and her daughter settle down. In that case, the both of you should continue chatting. Cai Lin was someone who was mindful of others. She was aware that this teacher and disciple needed to speak about something. Hence, she softly spoke to Xiao Yan before leaving slowly with Xiao Xiao. Yao Lao withdrew his eyes only after seeing Cai Lin take Xiao Xiao away. He smiled and said, "Little fellow, you have helped give birth to a good daughter, however, you being together with Medusa has exceeded my expectation." Xiao Yang spread his hands. The relationship between him and Cai Lin was quite complicated. Who would have imagined that Queen Medusa, who had been chasing Xiao Yang with a murderous intent for many years, would actually become his wife? I have also heard about the matter this time around. Being able to dispatch 2 Tianzuns is sufficient to show that the Hall of Souls is not fooling around. However, they suffered a great loss this time. The 9th Tianzun was killed on the spot by you, and that 4th Tianzun was beaten half to death before fleeing. Yao Lao fondled his beard and laughed. Honestly speaking, I do not know what the Hall of Souls is planning to do. This clan has always been mysterious and unfathomable. They definitely carrying out a scheme from the way they are gathering souls. Moreover, from the recent increase of soul gathering, this scheme is likely progressing very quickly. Based on the information that I have obtained, it seems that some big wars have erupted in other parts of the continent outside the Central Plains. The Hall of Souls is likely involved in these wars, Yao Lao mused. Oh? Wars has erupted across other parts of the continent? Xiao Yang's expression changed upon hearing this. He felt a little uneasy. Just what were these fellows from the Hall of Souls planning? Yao Lao's nodded with a solemn expression. He softly sighed a moment later and changed the topic of conversation. There is still half a month left before the spatial trade fair begins. We should also properly prepare during this period of time. Those who are able to participate in the spatial trade fair are all top experts and powerful factions. The purifying demonic lotus flame is too attractive. Since we have been able to obtain news about it, other factions will also be aware of it. Hence, we will definitely have to pay a great price in order to compete for the final map fragment. Xiao Yang nodded. The purifying demonic lotus flame was ranked 3rd on the heavenly flame ranking. This rank alone indicated its great strength. Its allure was naturally something that need not be mentioned. Even though it was just a map fragment, its value would be quite frightening. It would not be easy to successfully obtain it from the many competitors. Regardless of what happens, we need to obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame. There are 4 map fragments. 3 of them are in your hands. We must obtain the last piece no matter what. Xiao Lao remarked. The heavenly flames in the top 3 spots of the heavenly flame ranking possessed an extremely destructive force. These 3 types of heavenly flames were extremely rare in the world. Even after tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years, it would be difficult to form another one. It was even rumored that the world did not dare create too many of the top 3 heavenly flames due to them being overly powerful. Only when one of the heavenly flames completely disappeared, would a second flame appear after tens of thousands of years. This divine thing was feared by the spirits of the world. Once Xiao Yan had returned to the Falling Star Pavilion, both he and Xiao Lao undertook a retreat at the same time. While the both of them were taking their retreats, pill lightning and other unnatural phenomena would often appear in the sky above the Falling Star Pavilion. These frequent events caused many Falling Star Pavilion's disciples to watch them in surprise. However, these unusual phenomena did not damage anything in the star realm. A couple of dark golden figures would quietly charge into the thunder clouds when the pill lightning formed and would absorb all the pill lightning as wave after wave of rumbling sounds echoed. This kind of unusual phenomenon continued for nearly half a month before they gradually slowed. Xiao Lao and Xiao Yang slowly walked out of the stone tower on the mountain behind the Falling Star Pavilion half a month later. Their expressions were filled with fatigue. They exchanged glances with each other but did not have the strength to utter any unnecessary words. Both returned to their own rooms and rested for 3 full days. Xiao Yang and Xiao Lao only met again at noon on the 3rd day. After 3 days of rest, their auras had completely recovered. Let's leave. Xiao Lao smiled and spoke when he saw Xiao Yang. After counting the time, the spatial trade fair was about to begin. It was time they leave. Xiao Yang nodded. At this moment, only Cai Lin and the little fairy doctor came with him. The Falling Star Pavilion was their stronghold, and Xiao Lao was going to leave this time around. Hence, it was better for more people to remain behind to bolster the defenses. I have already arranged the matters of the Falling Star Pavilion appropriately and will hurry back if any accidents occur. Xiao Lao stood at the top of a mountain that overlooked this star realm. He smiled and did not remain any longer. His foot stepped through empty air as he swiftly rushed to the exit of the star realm. Let's leave too. Xiao Yang turned his head and urged Cai Lin and the little fairy doctor after seeing Xiao Lao leave. The little fairy doctor gently nodded as the 3 of them swiftly followed Xiao Lao. The spatial trade fair was an unfamiliar term within the Central Plains. Only the top factions and experts across the continent were aware about information related to the spatial trade fair. When this so-called spatial trade fair began, there was no specific organizer, but everything ultimately required some rules to keep people in line. As the spatial trade fair gradually expanded, a suitable organizer finally appeared. However, this organizer was not a single expert or faction. Instead, order was maintained by 3 sects with names that were not very well known. The 3 sects were the Ground Line Gate, Mysterious Space Sect, and Reflecting Treasure Mountain. These 3 sects' names were not as renowned as the 4 pavilions. However, in terms of strength, even factions like the Burning Flame Valley and the Profound Sky Sect would not underestimate them. There were many hidden powers within the Central Plains. The so-called 1 Hall 1 Tower, 2 sects 3 valleys, 4 pavilions could not be the strongest factions within the Central Plains. Some factions kept an extremely low profile, but they also possessed an extremely solid foundation and strength. Moreover, the strength of these factions did not lose to any well-known faction, but these factions did not expose themselves to the eyes of the ordinary people due to their style. These 3 factions were quite trustworthy in the eyes of the experts from the Central Plains. After having dealt with them a countless number of times, they were selected as the organizers by many sharp-eyed experts. Thus, no accidents would occur at the event. The spatial trade fair had become bigger and more grand while being jointly managed by the three factions. Many reclusive experts would be attracted by the ultimate treasures that were trades. This fair could be considered the most lucrative trading ground across the entire Dochi continent. Even Qian-class Do skills were not extremely rare at this spatial trade fair. Of course, if one wished to obtain such a skill, one needed to take out something that would satisfy the other party. One should not think of trying to rob at this event. Otherwise, one would suffer the combined attack of the three large organizing sects and would be viewed with enmity by the other experts, because anyone who wanted to participate in this spatial trade fair needed to swear that they would attack anyone who caused trouble during the event. Most of the genuine experts still kept the words that they had sworn. Although something like this occurred during some past events, those who wanted to forcefully snatch someone else's item would not have a good ending. It was due to all these rules that the spatial trade fair had grown. The number of top experts it attracted also increased. The location of the spatial trade fair was held in a barren desert in the southern part of the Central Plains. Sand and wind normally blew over this place, causing it to be without people. Moreover, this was a poor area and there would seldom be any faction trying to profit from it. Hence, this desert was a barren wasteland. An ordinary person would never be able to imagine that this place, where even a wild beast would not wish to go, was the best trading area within the Central Plains. The rushing sound of wind suddenly appeared in the clear sky outside of the desert, and four blurry figures flashed down. The next moment, they appeared on the edge of the desert. "Is it here?" Xiao Yan lifted his head and looked at the desert where yellow sand raged. He asked his question in surprise. "I?" Yao Lao smiled and nodded. His eyes slowly swept around him as he faintly laughed. This place might appear completely deserted, but if you sense carefully, you can tell that there are quite a number of powerful auras inside. Xiao Yan lifted his brows when he heard Yao Lao's words. His heart shook as his spiritual perception spread out in all directions. Surprise swiftly surged onto his face. He had briefly swept his spiritual perception around and had discovered over 100 auras in this desert. The weakest of these auras was at the 3-star Dozun class, while the strongest one vaguely emitted a unique fluctuation. Xiao Yang had sensed such a ripple from Yao Lao many times before. It was a mysterious fluctuation that only an elite Dosheng possessed. Although this ripple was extremely faint, it also meant that the owner of the aura had at least reached the 8-change peak of the 9th star of the Dozun class. Otherwise, it would be impossible to create such a fluctuation. It is indeed worthy of being the highest grade trade fair within the Central Plains. It has attracted so many experts, Xiao Yang softly praised. These were only the auras he could sense. His heart was aware that there were some auras he could not detect. The owners of these auras would likely have a saint in their name. Ha ha, this is only a small portion. After entering it, you will realize that it truly lives up to its reputation of being high-end. Yao Lao fondled his beard and laughed. He immediately added somewhat seriously, "All of you should behave once we enter. There are many experts inside. Some of the hidden sects might not be well known, but their sect might contain an old demon-like Dosheng existence. Hence, it is best to avoid offending them if we can." Xiao Yang's group nodded when they heard Yao Lao warn them. The current Falling Star Pavilion might be rapidly developing, but this was because it was relying on Yao Lao's alchemist status and his Bansheng strength. Otherwise, the Falling Star Pavilion was merely a faction that was similar to the Wind Lightning Pavilion. One might not be able to say that one could find a large number of similar factions in the Central Plains, but there were definitely quite a few of them. Of course, if others come provoking us, we must naturally not be softies. Yao Lao faintly smiled as he spoke. The Bansheng class might not be unmatchable, but he still had another status. He was a well-known alchemist in the Central Plains. In the face of this title, even those true elite Dosheng would not act arrogant when meeting him. "Let's go." Yao Lao did not say anything else after his words sounded. With a wave of his hand, his body stepped through empty air as he rushed toward the deepest part of the desert. The yellow sandstorm that blew along the way automatically disappeared when it was around 100 meters from his body. Xiao Yang and the other two followed close behind. This sandstorm that an ordinary person was extremely terrified of did not pose any obstruction to them. Hence, Xiao Yan's group had reached the deepest part of the desert 10 minutes later. They followed Yao Lao and ascended a very steep mountain of sand. Their eyes swept over the other side of the sand mountain when they reached the top. A shock surged onto their faces. One could see a 1,000-foot large black hole slowly rotating at the top of the towering sand mountain, which was located in the middle of the desert. Waves of suction forces slowly spread from it. At this moment, a couple of people with extremely powerful auras flashed down from the surrounding sand mountains. They charged into the wormhole and disappeared. This is the entrance of the spatial trade fair. Its own realm has been created for it. How grand! Xiao Yan softly sighed and muttered to himself as he studied this scene. Yao Lao smiled upon seeing the stunned expressions of Xiao Yan's trio. He waved his hand and said, "Let's enter." Xiao Yan and the other two nodded when they heard Yao Lao's suggestion. Their bodies moved, and they rushed toward the towering sand mountain. They had appeared in front of the spatial black hole within a couple of flashes. There were occasionally some figures rushing by when the four of them arrived. Their eyes paused on Xiao Yan's group before taking a second glance at Cai Lin and the little fairy doctor. Those who could come to this place were no fools. They were clearly aware of the type of people who would come. Hence, rarely would any foolish people purposefully step forward and find trouble. Yao Lao ignored these gazes. He stepped through empty air and walked into the spatial black hole. Xiao Yan's group followed close behind. The three of them felt an unusual strength sweeping over them when they entered the spatial black hole. There was no ill intention to this force. Instead, it seemed like it was probing. Everything turned momentarily black in front of Xiao Yan's group after they entered the black hole. Soon after, light and noise began to appear. They blinked their eyes. The world in front of them had changed into a small town. When one's eyes glanced toward the sky of the small town, one would find that it was completely gray. There was a wild and violent spatial ripple vaguely being emitted. This is Space Town, the location where the spatial trade fair is held. Although this place is not as spacious as the GU realm, it is large enough to be used as a trading location. Yao Lao looked at the busy streets and laughed. Xiao Yan and the other two nodded. Being able to create a realm as a trading location was quite a grand thing to do. Although this realm was not large, it was not something that an ordinary person could create. Let's randomly roam first. There are no inferior products here. All of them are rare items. Yao Lao laughed. After which, he took a step and walked toward a street. Xiao Yan's group followed behind him with curious faces. Their eyes continued to sweep around them. Green stone platforms filled both sides of the street. Things like scrolls, jade bottles, weapons, and monster core had been placed on them. A faint light was being emitted from these objects, indicating that they were not ordinary things. Some human figures were seated behind the stone platforms, and all of these people boasted strong auras. Clearly, they were not people that one could easily offend. Earth Demon Kick, DI Class High-Grade Dove Skill. Great Mysterious Skill, DI Class High-Grade Chi Method. Body Transformation Pill, Tier 7 High-Grade Medicinal Pill. 10,000-year-old Bloody Spiritual Ginseng. Various dazzling items continued to enter Xiao Yan's sight while his eyes continued to leap around. The rarity of some of the things caused an excitement to rise within Xiao Yan's heart despite his calmness. The pretty eyes of Cai Lin and the little fairy doctor by the side also revealed an unusual glitter. Earth Core Spirit Serum. The medicinal pill refined by it can attract a 6-colored pill lightning. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over the medicinal ingredients that were emitting a shocking energy. He softly inhaled a mouthful of cold air. It was unexpected that such a thing was also present in this place. The street was not long, only a couple of 100 meters. When Xiao Yan discovered that they had reached the end, he finally withdrew his eyes while feeling not fully satisfied. His face was stunned. Just this street alone had over 10 things that he was interested in. Although Xiao Yan was interested in them, they were of little use to him. Hence, after some brief inquiries, Xiao Yan decided to give up exchanging for them. The value of the things that these old cunning fellows wanted to exchange for was not the least bit inferior to the things they were selling. Xiao Yang softly sighed in a somewhat regretful manner. He had just pulled Cai Lin to a deeper part of the town when he discovered that she had suddenly stilled. He quickly became startled. He looked in the direction that she was staring. There was a 7-colored stone there. This stone was around the size of half a fist. There were 7 extremely clear lines on it, and a special energy was vaguely radiating from it. 7-colored origin stone? Xiao Yang's brows slightly twitched. He quietly came to a sudden understanding when he recognized this thing. This so-called 7-colored origin stone was a mutated spiritual stone. It possessed a unique relationship with the 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. It was rumored that a 7-colored origin stone would hardly ever appear at the spot where a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python died. A 7-colored origin stone had absorbed the blood of a heaven-swallowing python to create a unique energy. This energy served as nourishment to a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. No wonder Cai Lin would stop because of it. Xiao Yang slowly stepped forward. His eyes drifted to the back of the stone platform. A shriveled old man was sitting weakly at that spot. He did not greet Xiao Yang's group, which had stopped in front of the stone platform. "This elderly sir, may I know what you want in exchange for this 7-colored origin stone?" Xiao Yang did not mind the old man's attitude as he faintly smiled and asked. That skinny old man finally lifted his eyes after hearing Xiao Yang's words. He slowly said, 2 tier 8 medicinal pills with at least 3-colored pill lightning. It seems a little expensive, no? Xiao Yang's hand rubbed the 7-colored origin stone. This thing might be rare, but it was not that rare. More importantly, its value was limited. It was only useful to a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. It was pointless for anyone else to obtain it. Hence, its value was not equivalent to 2 tier 8 medicinal pills with 3 or more colors of pill lightning. Yao Lao crossed his hands and stood by the side. He did not interrupt. All he did was smiled as he watched Xiao Yang bargain with that skinny old man. Don't exchange for it if you think it is expensive. That skinny old man was full of character as he rolled his eyes. His tone did not treat Xiao Yang as a customer. Xiao Yang could only roll his eyes, but he did not reach the stage where he was about to erupt in anger. If he did not even have this patience, he would not have been able to endure those bitter trainings. While Xiao Yang planned to continue bargaining with the other party, Cai Lin by the side suddenly grabbed Xiao Yang's hand. Her somewhat cold but delicate finger gently wrote a word on Xiao Yang's palm. Buy? Xiao Yang was slightly startled by Cai Lin. He understood that Cai Lin was not a foolish woman. Moreover, a 7-colored origin stone might be rare, but it was not something that she must have at all costs, yet she continued to insist. She had even secretly passed such a message to Xiao Yang. In which case, it was worth deliberating about this matter. Although Xiao Yang had received Cai Lin's message, he did not immediately change his words. He continued to bargain with that skinny old man. Once Xiao Yang became a little irritated, he threw a jade bottle over and grabbed the 7-colored origin stone before turning around with Cai Lin to leave. That skinny old man was startled when he saw Xiao Yang's agile trade. He grabbed the jade bottle in front of him and checked its content, feeling a little stunned. A moment later, he frowned and looked at the backs of Xiao Yang's group, which were disappearing in the distance. He felt that something was amiss in his heart without understanding why. Damn it, has the old me identified it wrong? But that is obviously a 7-colored origin stone. What is with that fellow? The skinny old man muttered doubtfully. However, there was no one there to unravel his doubt. After grabbing the 7-colored origin stone, Xiao Yang's group quickly disappeared from the old man's sight. Only after taking a turn did Xiao Yang halt. He handed the 7-colored origin stone to Cai Lin and asked, "Is there something wrong with this stone?" Yao Lao and the little fairy doctor by the side were surprised as they waited for Cai Lin to explain. They quickly examined the 7-colored origin stone but were unable to detect a difference. Cai Lin received the 7-colored origin stone. A smile surfaced on her cold face as she said, An ordinary person only knows that the place where a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python died has a chance of forming a 7-colored origin stone. However, they are unaware that if 100 or more 7-colored heaven-swallowing python die in the same spot, there is a chance an 8-colored or even 9-colored origin stone will form, but it is basically impossible for 100 7-colored heaven-swallowing python to die at the same spot. Hence, an ordinary person is only aware of the 7-colored origin stone, not the 8 or 9-color stones. The true peak of the 7-colored heaven-swallowing python is not known by this name. Instead, it is called the 9-colored heaven-swallowing python, but only those heaven-swallowing python ancestors with the richest bloodline will be able to reach that level. This is a memory that is inherited from the bloodline of the heaven-swallowing python. An ordinary person, even people like you, do not know this. Upon hearing these words, not only was Xiao Yan surprised, even Yao Lao was a little stunned. Clearly, they had never heard of this secret. No wonder only you can recognize it. Xiao Yan bitterly smiled and shook his head. He curiously asked, in that case, is this origin stone 8 or 9 colors? Cai Lin's fingernail cut her finger. A drop of blood landed on the origin stone. One could see a slowly wiggling line appear behind the 7th line on the smooth surface of the rock. In order to see just how many colors this origin stone has, one must use the blood of a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. 8-colored origin stone. Xiao Yan felt a little pity when he saw this. If this was a 9-colored origin stone, Cai Lin would have gained a lot this time around. Of course, he was aware that this was his own greed. 8 colors was already not bad. If it was used properly, it would significantly increase Cai Lin's strength. The 8-colored stone might be different than the 7-colored stone by a color, but the energy that was contained in them was vastly different. If that old fellow was aware of this, it is likely that he would spit out a mouthful of blood. Yao Lao smiled. It was unexpected that they would find such a gain after having just arrived at the spatial trade fair. Let's go, I will bring all of you to see a true treasure. The thing that we need is also there. Yao Lao waved his hand. After which, he turned his body and walked to one side of the street. Xiao Yang and the little fairy doctor quickly followed. Finally, Cai Lin rubbed the 8-colored origin stone in her hand before she put it into her storage ring. She did not discover the extremely tiny line that quietly appeared behind the 8th line when she put the origin stone. This video will end here.